Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Ariel Serber. I'm with Lamar Wright. We're going to have a nice conversation today about family offices, Black Wealth Foundation, curating events, creating community, and building, creating a lot of value and synergy out there in the world, very rapidly changing world that we're all, trying to figure out and find our way in. So, Lamar, would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what you're working
Yep.
on and what your work is?
All right. Well, thank you, Ariel, for having me on your platform. That's very important, and we're thankful for that. Um, I'm probably a very different compared to so many others that are in the space. I usually tell people I had a portfolio career. So I have been a celebrity makeup artist and wardrobe stylist for years. Um, Over time, I decided to create my own firm, which is the Couture Man LLC Advisory. And that's a lifestyle and branding firm. We do high touch services and image consulting and creative direction. And then over the pandemic, like so many other people, we had to do a pivot. And the pivot was into client relations. So we found that we had clients that were looking to allocate capital, clients that were doing capital raises, and we had measured success in that to the point now I'm also, through my client relations arm, director of partnerships and collaborations for the McBride Family Office. And I guess you could
Got
also
it. And
say,
it's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I was going to say it's just interesting how, building the relationships in one area led to much bigger, more macro uh, problem solving, um, you know, and helping people actually attain their goals. And I'm sure that if you can just talk more about the image building and that piece of
Mhm.
it, what goes into that for your clients.
Well, our clients, especially now, we've evolved over time, just like so many other people. Our clients are usually hedge fund managers, family office principals, C-suite executives, even new founders in tech and things of that nature. So what we do is we really work on, I would say, everything I do, the common thread is stewardship, right? We kind of help people um, take success, who are successful people, and turn it into structure and things that are lasting and transferable. So we're more than just image, and most people think image of just as clothes, but we move into your
Mm.
confidence. We help you engage and understand how to do time, your time preservation, and we definitely work on your reputation and understand being prepared, your readiness. So there's a little bit more in what we do besides just image.
Yeah, well, that's all. Those are all very important components um, in anyone's overall planning, and then obviously their financial side comes
Mhm.
into it. And I'm sure being more confident, understanding, that how important mindset is, and how that helps the client overall. So,
Oh
what would you say your overall mission is?
yeah. I would say probably our overall mission is to truly bring value to our client, right? So what we're trying to do is, I would say, we want to bring things in alignment to them. So anything from your lifestyle to hospitality to your image, um, your relationships. We wanted to align with the client on their level of operation.
Got it. And you said stewardship. I really like that in terms of, again, going back to the financial piece of it, because
Hmm.
it's not just about it's not just about the dollars and cents. It's about the overall life and, like you said, creating something lasting.
Hmm.
So why and how did you shift into that mode or into that as your, um, I guess, what you're really focusing on?
Well, I would just say that I don't. I could never say I've had a structured path and that this is how it's going to develop. I do have a spirituality about me, so I do believe that a lot of opportunities that I've gotten um, over my time has been divine. I feel as though when God opens the door, you're supposed to show up and show out and do the best that you can.
Hmm.
So I've just developed myself over time, but I can give you an idea on the transition a little bit on how I've gotten into the family office space. Maybe that would be a little helpful, right?
Yeah,
So I
that
had
would
a
be great.
client. Okay. So I had a client. I'm not going to say names because privacy is very important to us. Um, but I had a client who did conservation easements. Conservation easements is, I would just say, another way for the wealthy to do to do taxes. um, he was like, I want to do, I've set up different concepts for him to do presentations before. And he was like, I want to do something for family offices. I've never even heard of it. And most society
Mhm.
hasn't heard about what a family office is. Now it's becoming a little bit more trendy and stuff like that. So I did research and found out, like, I'm like, these people are so rich, they're their own bank. Like, wow,
Yeah,
but
it's
they
a different
all
level.
extremely different level, right? But they all was going. I was looking at the conferences, and even the conference that you mentioned a little earlier, before we got online. These conferences all are the same. So I was like, what am I going to do to help my client be? How do we stand out? So asked him for the budget because I will spend a lot of money if that's the case. If you let me, he was like, no, I
Yeah.
understand big, so we have a pretty good budget. So what I did was I found an estate in the Hamptons that had tons of amenities. We rented that out for about 5 days, and we invited a select number of family offices to come and experience that time with us. I took his presentation, divided it up into the different amenities and stuff like that on the estate, and it was very successful. And the family office that I work with now actually was part of that event. And so we've been in
Got it.
contact, and they brought me into their family office from that one event that I did.
Yeah. It sounds like you create a lot of value. So what are the key aspects of when you work with, in any capacity? It could be a family, it could be a fund or a third party, a vendor even.
Hmm.
What do you feel are the key aspects to making sure that it's going to be a successful either? And you said you also hit the nail on the head. Time is everything.
Yes. Um, for me, things about being successful, right? I just need to have a clear understanding of, like, you know, I would say a clear understanding of, like, what is the expectations, what are your deliverables, and we need to know what we're doing and what our expectations is when we get off the call.
Hmm.
That's like, what you're going to own, what receivables, what you're going to contribute. I think that is the one of the most important things. And you can have a great conversation, right? But that's not a commitment. So things need to be in writing.
100%. 100%. And Mariah has a great point here, because I was talking about how it's not all about the money, but how do
Hmm.
you help the family offices be emotionally ready to be together during those times?
Um, you know. family offices, people have to remember what the first word is, family. So that means there is always, it's unique to everyone, right? The way that I engage one family, I
Mhm.
probably would not engage the next family in the same way, right? So my job, first of
Right.
all, is to understand what do they need from me. Recently, the family offices, I have my family office that I deal directly with because I'm director of partnerships and collaborations. But my company, we do consult and deal with other family offices for certain services or initiatives that they're engaging in, right? Um, so right now, we really sit in the balance of, I would say, preservation and progress, right? Um, Legacy is not just about being stuck in the past, and your impact is not really about being about like abandoning all the discipline that you've done to create. So what we do is try to help the families develop a strong governance, so that you can kind of protect what's been created, but you need to give room to like the next, the what they call them, generation, the next generation, like who's coming in. They need to have opportunities to lead, and you need to understand kind of like where their mentality is. So I speak between, I would say, the principal and the heirs.
Right. Yeah, because everyone has different experiences that they bring to the table. It could be the either the founder or someone that came from nothing, and but the heirs don't know a different life. So obviously, it's everyone comes with their own I guess baggage, you could say, of different degrees of
We
yeah.
try not to say baggage.
What's That's okay. Well, we're here. It's only us, so it's fine. But people understand. So,
Mhm.
not in a negative way. It's what they.
We're
Everyone
humans.
has their.
We all have, yeah, we're
We're
humans, and
humans.
we all
We're
have
humans. That's
things.
how we make decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone just at the end wants to, like you said, the stewardship, the legacy. Those are the things that people want to focus on. So like the the fights or the arguments that happen, they're going to happen. But I think if you keep the mindset on the higher view, and Danielle Patterson actually said it right, about
Danielle.
having that gratitude. Yeah, you know her. So um,
Yeah.
let's talk about next week, and how you got
I
involved in the foundation, and everything going on there.
I appreciate you asking about that. That's my purpose right now. I mean, I have my career and what I do with my family office space and with my company, but BWFF, the mission is to advance Black America's contribution to the national GDP. And we're doing that in three pillars: economic competitiveness. So we engage collegially, we deal with workforce readiness, sustainable communities. So we deal with economic development corporations, chambers of commerce. We have just finalized um, our circular opportunity zone development, which is using HBCUs, historical Black colleges and universities, as catalysts
Hmm.
for opportunity zone development. And then, of course, last but not least, is generational wealth. Because of my experience in the family office space, I don't look at generational wealth as just the accumulation. I'm trying to understand and make sure that we're developing some governance, some infrastructure, so that we are stewards of the wealth that's being created now by Black America, so that it is generational. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
really change our mentality out of survival mode, but to think at least 20, 30 years ahead.
So how can we all? I mean, obviously that's you're speaking to a specific audience, but here we have a broader audience.
Mhm.
How can how can that audience, the
Mhm,
Black wealth accumulators, let's say,
mhm,
have that mindset, and kind of, I assume that's what some of the panels and discussions and conversations are all going to be around.
mhm.
But maybe we could do a little preview. Um,
Right.
how do you get that mindset of for governance and sustainable and growing and impact and all that?
Well, first of all, yes, the what we do is centered around Black America. Yes. But also, and what I want to make sure that everyone understands, we're always here for allies and supporters. We welcome you into our community. We welcome you into being actually a partner and collaborator in what we're doing because um, the main focus, remember, is to advance the national GDP. We are Americans, and so we are a part of
Mhm.
the growth of America. So we don't want to be,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's not completely separated or anything like that. But I say that the best thing to do is we're looking at capital conversations and how they're moving forward. Um, some of the data shows that our businesses get less than 2 and 3% of the capital that's available out there. So that means all of our
Right.
founders, all of our emerging managers, we're not getting the opportunity to actually even showcase what we're able to do because we're not getting funded, right? So this is what I mean about mindset that our community needs to start galvanizing and start funding ourselves as much as possible. We look at how partnerships are being formed. How are we working in the private sector with our educational institutions, or how are we procuring government contracts? How are we developing our youth? Right? What kind of mentorship
Yeah.
or mentorship or uh, ownership placements that we're doing, things of that nature. So there's intentionality in what we're doing, and for any ally or supporter, we're looking to understand how can we get your attention. How are we getting you companies to come into the HBCUs to help create real paid internships, or how is the government that has intentionally withheld, some of the states have intentionally withheld federal funding for HBCUs. um, how are how are we addressing that? How are we becoming
Yeah.
part of the economic development plans of the cities and states in which our schools are located at? So it's not about division. It's really about how can we be included in the conversation, and for us ourselves is how are we developing what that's going to look like.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, it's also about developing the next generation of operators and entrepreneurs and people
Mhm.
that can do the work underlying it. Because not everyone is cut out to necessarily be the founder, the entrepreneur, but they can be the service providers as well, and the attorneys and the accountants and the finance people and maybe the sales people as well, and all that kind of stuff. But it
Indeed,
all
and people
starts
have
with that. Yeah.
yeah, and people have to
Good.
understand that there's jobs out there and careers that aren't sexy, but they are well paying. You got to, to understand, just we're dealing with the NBA, right? There are so many jobs that are a part of the NBA that are
Yep.
well-paying jobs that people don't understand that's available, but you're so mindset of I need to be a player or I need to be the culture, but there's so many other jobs that are involved in that.
Hmm. Yeah. And I remember seeing something about Paul being involved with the HBCUs and all that. Is he involved in this initiative or others like?
No, we have the NBA Foundation being part of what we're doing.
Okay.
So our event the Wealth Weekend is our flagship event on Martha's Vineyard. August 13th, we're doing a preview. And that preview is just giving a synopsis of what we want to do for 2027, which will be a 4-day experience. So just to give an idea of
Oh,
what
okay.
to expect, we're doing an Access to Capital conversation. That conversation is to help founders and businesses understand what they need to demonstrate to be capital ready, right? One of the key anchors of that conversation is Bob Green, who is the president of the National Association of National Association of Investment Companies, right? And then the next conversation is basically our leadership roundtables, almost like a think tank for economic development and education. Janisha Metcalf, who is the head of partnerships for the NBA Foundation, she's going to be on that part of that conversation. Keith Schultz, who is the CEO of the Student Freedom Initiative, which is Robert F. Smith's Student Debt Initiative organization, is going to be a part of that. And then we move to our Legacy Blueprint, which is really about the preservation of what we're creating and building. And we have Vice President Chuck West, who is the Vice President of Morgan Stanley, and we also have an executive who's moderating it from First Horizon Bank. So we are being very intentional about the conversations and really making sure that introductions are being made and strategic follow-ups, because we don't just do events to do events. We want call to action and progress to go through with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to take a step back, because a lot of what you're saying has a financial aspect. And
Yeah.
I've seen it, and others have seen, I'm sure you've seen it, where the financial literacy is pretty non-existent overall. And I can't imagine, you know, you're not intentionally putting some of this out there to raise financial literacy. So is that the case? Am I reading that correctly?
Well,
and what are your thoughts on that?
Not for, so our flagship event is really for the 10% of America, Black America. That's the 10%. So these are leaders, these are professionals, these are successful people. We're trying to galvanize them and get them to give back properly and to help the aspirational group come up. We do have an Excellence in Leadership tour that we launched Juneteenth here in New York with the CUNY Black Men's Initiative. Amazon hosted us. New York Life was a part of it, and so was Microsoft, where that is really targeting that financial educational piece. It targets student leadership, scholar athletes, and bringing them in the room with C-suite executives that are in their local area or elsewhere to help develop that mindset and access on how leadership can be expanded. So we have two parts.
Yeah. And also it's like, yeah, you start earning money, and you don't have to be an NBA player to earn money. You know, you could be the plumber or the electrician, but then it's like, what do you do with it, and how do you make decisions around it? And I think that's part of what people never have that conversation. And then it's, you know, they're 20 years into a career and they just have a bunch of accounts everywhere. So I think that hurts people when it comes to having a purposeful sort of wealth and health and life plan.
Yeah. I think that people have to understand that you have to get your paperwork together. And in a lot of communities, they don't. You don't understand, when you don't have your paperwork together and something happens, or passing, that estate, whether it's $2,000, whether it's 25,000, 45,000, that goes into probate. Now you have to pay a lawyer to help you navigate the probate. That can be 2 years. And you might need that money. So you could lose everything that you could have waiting for money that if you guys were a little bit more aware and more intentional in how you're structuring your life and thinking about the future, those things would have been protected. And so that is some of the things that we would like to do. Make sure that just bring awareness
Yeah.
and give access.
Yeah. So you wrote in your post about the event, and I quoted it here: how Black Americans move from access to ownership, influence, and long-term wealth. So
Mhm.
can you talk more about that? Flesh that out a little bit, and what does that mean, and what does it mean to you, and how can that actually happen?
Uh, well, I think that I would just say the success of what we're doing is not really measured only like in attendance or visibility. Just to kind of touch on what I was saying before about how to understand how we're measuring our effect in what we're doing. Um, just for instance, our access to capital forum and talking about getting funding. We're looking at measuring how are our introductions going? I mean, are there follow-up conversations? Are there contracts signed? Are there opportunities that's being created? Um, when we're mentioning the Excellence in Leadership Tour, we're looking at how many students have received mentorship or a sponsor out of attending our events. How many executives now have executive residencies at these colleges that we help produce, right?
Hmm.
Um, so we do have data is king, and you cannot develop anything if you don't have the data to measure what you're trying to do. Is it, you know, it needs numbers to see if it's going to be good or bad, or do you need to rethink it to refine it? So these are things that we're doing. And I do think this is something with Black America, a lot of being general with us is usually not sufficient because we have specific challenges that is just for our community. So sometimes we need direct conversation. And so that is what we're having in this space. So our spaces are designed to be decision rooms, but also atmospheres of healing and understanding and really community.
Got it. And I would think, in addition to all that, I would say, have you thought about uh, boards and getting people on boards? Because I think that's an important um, place to be. And to if I think if people don't see themselves in certain positions, it's harder for them to imagine themselves being there,
Indeed, indeed.
or
I
people
mean,
like
I do.
themselves.
Yeah. I do think that corporate boards need to have more, the dirty word, diversity. But
Yeah.
it's not diversity for just fairness or equity. When you have diversity, you have a better chance of success. It always makes the revenue model better because now you need to have a variety on your board so you can speak to what America is, which is a variety of people. So if you're trying to get our money, you got to speak to us. And you can't speak to something you have no connection to. So it's just, you
Right.
know,
It's just business business logic. Totally makes sense.
yeah, everything doesn't
So
have to be emotional.
yeah, so and I think you were mentioning before we went live, it's actually a small event, right? So and
Yeah.
you purposefully keep it that way. So can you talk
Indeed.
about, who will be in that room and
Mhm.
how you kind of curate it all?
Well, this preview is really about our speakers and partners, right? So we're trying to galvanize and create an ecosystem that's going to move from now all the way to 2027, right? So
Mm.
we allow anyone to register at blackwealthfamilyfoundation.com. But our advisory council goes through all of that, and we actually identify and choose who we want to invite in our rooms and space. Um, the idea is to create opportunities for us to have meaningful conversations so that there is strategic follow up so that work can be done. Usually when you have a big conference, you're so busy trying to get to the next person. What meaningful conversation are you having? You probably forget 50 of the people that you spoke to. Like, I don't know who this part goes to. I think we spoke about it's too
Yeah,
much. And I've learned that over the times of being actually what I was doing as an image consultant. I never give a client more than 3 options. They'll never get
yeah,
it.
it's
You'll
too
never get
much
an answer.
headspace in your headspace. Right. It became, well, it's paralysis analysis. Like that's what you want to avoid. And I think that applies to the financial world as well, like financial decision making and all these decisions. That's why I think it was Steve Jobs that had just one outfit every day and that was it. So you didn't have to think about it.
Effortless
And
fashion,
that
I
and
do
that
that for
becomes your
clients.
image.
Yes, effortless
Well,
fashion is
yeah, and that
very
becomes your
important.
image and then yeah, and that becomes its own. So you said circular economy. I'm thinking about that
Mhm.
from that point of view. What is that? Can you speak more about that? What does that mean, and how does
Mhm.
that apply here? Circular economy.
Well, all right. So circularity is how Europe really engages the SDG, ESG goals of the United Nations mandates, right? So really, the Nordic countries, and Nordic countries are like Denmark and Sweden and those countries. They actually
Mhm.
implement circularity in their economic financial analysis of how the country is moving. So circularity is about repurpose, reuse, how to get to extend the life cycle of raw materials and things of that nature. So that's one side of it. But also the other side is the social side of thinking. And when I say thinking, I'm talking about how do you retain talent? How do you change the mindset of a community? In our communities, because of so many things like redlining and blase, you can just name it and check it off. It's against us. Uh, when we actually develop and grow, a lot of us leave our community. So that means we're not reinvesting in our communities. We're not helping to build it up. We are not developing ourselves as much as we could. And so circularity helps address
Mhm.
all of that with different principles that we engage with the circular opportunity zone development. We're looking at creating innovation districts. So we're using the HBCU land grants. We're using federal dollars because federal dollars have certain initiatives, things of that nature. And we're basically creating a capital stacks to develop these innovation districts, but we're doing it intentionally. We're doing it without displacing the community. We're doing it
Mhm.
to deal with climate resiliency and all of that. So,
Okay. No, that's incredible stuff. So, and I think just based on that alone, they should follow what your work and the work of the organization, let alone all the other things. Because I think you know that's the foundation that can be built on all the other. You could build all the other things, including that generational wealth and um, creating that sort of loop, which I guess is sort of a synonym. Um, what else are you working on that? let's say, what are you working on next?
Whew. Uh, Listen, I seem like I keep giving myself jobs. It's only one me, right? But everything I do has the same, like I said, the common thread of stewardship. What am I doing to create a legacy that's going to outlive myself and that is impactful and feeds my soul? Um, the Couture Man LLC Advisory, we are just opening up different slots for maybe 2 or 3 slots for a couple clients as we're growing. Um, Black Wealth Family Foundation, we are engaging in creating I would call it a private office type model, where we are going to invite certain C-suite executives and founders, investors inside, and we'll kind of move this like a multifamily office experience. Um,
Sure.
and that is where we are right now. With my family office, we are actually looking to close out on our a very huge, amazing, high value transaction. We are onshoring an aerospace grade titanium mill here in the United States. So that is a very big
Okay.
thing. It's 1.8 billion, and we are down to like 100 something million to finish that close. And so we
Wow.
are engaging as and when I say our family office, the family office does all of the work. I've just kind of come in and help with the guidance and bring some partnerships and things of that nature. It's not my family office,
Okay.
guys. So I'm
No, I
not,
understand. I understand. We're not false advertising here. We're not.
correct.
This is not an offer of securities. This is not financial advice. Okay.
Yes.
But but it feels like you are like kind of like, how in like sports they say, oh, this person's like a glue guy. So it's like
Mm,
that's sort of how I would see the partnership role, and how it's, you sort of connect the dots and keep things kind of keep it moving, so that you can actually reach the end destination,
correct.
right? So I think that's obviously a very important piece. How can this community support your work, and also please share any links and share any uh, you know uh, images or things you want to share in the comments so people can find you and follow you.
Okay. Well, for the Couture Man, it's thecoutureman.com. So TheCoutureman.com. And for the Black Wealth Family Foundation.com. Those are our websites, and I do connect and correspond a lot on LinkedIn. The pandemic made me uh, decide which social media service I was going to put my time in and learn. So I do like LinkedIn. So you can always reach me on LinkedIn. Lamar, LA, Wright is WRIGHT. And I'm
Right.
open to communicating and engaging, but I'm really about how do we bring value to each other and don't waste my time.
Hmm. Don't waste my time. Okay, those are
Yes, I'm an
two good rules. So,
entrepreneur.
uh, yeah, 100%. Time is everything. Who would you have this conversation with? If there's anyone to have this kind of
Hmm.
conversation or to talk about, especially with what we've been talking about today and making that big impact. It could be anyone from history, by the way. So that's how I frame it.
Hmm. So a couple years ago, I'm not going to tell you how long ago because that probably would date me. Um, I met Loida Lewis. She is the widow of Reginald Lewis, who was one of the top Black millionaires in the executive world. I would love to talk to Reginald Lewis to see, like, to take an assessment of where Black America is today in the corporate world and the business world, and
Mhm.
kind of maybe um, tap him to say, hey, what do you think we're missing? Where should we really concentrate and focus our attention to really just better ourselves um, within the American system? And when I say, and I
Yeah,
shouldn't even say American system. uh, We have to understand that right now everyone competes. We compete globally. So you're not just competing
yep,
against Americans, you're competing with Asians, Africans, Europeans. We all are, it's a competition. It's an economic competition. And you have to understand if you're going to play the game, you should play the game to win.
yeah. So, what's your advice to win? What's your advice and thoughts on how to win in this current world that we're in right now?
I would just say intentionality and consistency. I really think that if you're intentional with how you want to move and you're consistent with how you move, then results will show. And I do think that people need
Okay,
to kind
that's
of also have something else, whether some faith or something else. I know tons of super, I wouldn't say super, I would just say I know quite a few ultra wealthy people who are empty and miserable, but they can buy anything and have anything they want, but happiness.
yeah, yeah. Some people are so poor, all they have is money, right? So, um, but
I love
I
that.
think in terms of uh, Uh, thank you. I'm here all week. But I think setting yourself up so that's not what happens to you and your family is probably part of the conversation. And I'm glad we had this conversation. Is any other last thoughts?
Um, I would just say, everybody, you define what's your success, you define your own happiness, and comparison is a thief. And you move at your time in your direction, um, and just try to be kind to others. That's it.
That's it. It's like the golden rule. All right, everybody. Thank you, Lamar. Appreciate you so much. And please
Thank you.
drop the links for the events. And I look forward to having a little bit of FOMO. I've never been to Martha's Vineyard. I've heard good things. I'm sure you'll enjoy and take away have a lot of
Well, we're going to have you
takeaways that
next
you'll
time.
share with the.
Indeed. I
Okay,
would tell you to come
Liang
this
Hara.
time, but it is definitely challenging to get space up there now. So you would be staying off island
No
most
worries.
likely.
It's
So
uh yeah, no. Well, thank you for that, but it's actually not a good couple weeks. Actually, maybe end of August. Maybe that's a good trip to take. But anyway, if you have any other good travel tips, we're happy to hear them as well in the comments and share your thoughts and feedback and questions you have. And please go and follow Lamar and all the organizations we've been talking about. And thank you so much.
thank you
Have a great
guys.
day.
Thank you, Ariel. Okay.